Hi, it's Mark Owen from Moose Marketing and PR, the editor of Punchline magazine, and welcome to Punchline Talks, the big interview. Today, I'm joined by David Jones, Managing Director of Evans Jones, celebrating 50 years in business. The company started in 1972. David, welcome to Punchline Talks.
Thanks very much, Mark. Good to be here.
Now, you've been my guest lots of times on the Business Breakfast Show, and I'll be honest with you, and we've had a game of golf and we've had a few chats, but I don't really know the background to the business and how you started in there. So let's start at the very beginning not start at the very beginning. Let's start off where we are now. Tell us all about Evans Jones, please, about the company.
Okay, so now we are a multidisciplinary business. So planning, surveying, project management, quantity surveying and access consultancy, operating from Cheltenham, Reading and London. So quite a different business from that which it was 50 years ago, which I'll sort of come more to in a little while. Staff, we are currently at around 20. Turnover this year will be targeted for 1.4 million, with lots of expansion plans. It's been an interesting couple of years, as it has for most businesses, but really hasn't impacted us too much. Learned a lot, but we continue to strive for the future.
And when you say learned a lot, I mean, how long have you worked in the business yourself?
So I joined in 1990. So 32 years for me, and I trained elsewhere, so always in and around Gloucestershire. So trained at Bruton Knowles, funnily enough, in Gloucester, who I'm sure you know and your viewers will know. Great company to train at, and spent 7 very happy years there before joining the family firm, as it were.
They say it's a family firm, so it started in 1970. Who started it? Was your father, grandfather?
So my father, so Priest Jones, and a chap called Eric Evans, as a sort of traditional partnership. The company started about 100 metres from where I'm sitting now in Royal Crescent, Cheltenham. We've had a few moves over the period, but probably no more than about 300 metres at our Cheltenham base. But I say a different company then. It was much more of a technical consultancy, and that developed into providing services to predominantly housing developers. So planning and technical packages, but very much sorting out the technical side of things. Then to architecture and land surveying, and more latterly to those services that I just set out. So you're more sort of professional services, surveying and quantity surveying, town planning, access consultancy, etc.
Did the two partners always get on well? Were they friends in schools? Your dad and the other chap?
No, they both came out of local authorities. So Eric Evans was with Cheltenham Borough Council, and my father, Priest, was with Gloucester Urban District Council, as it then was, in the sort of 50s and 60s. So my father from an environmental health background, and Eric from a building control background, sort of hence the sort of technical aspects of the company during those early years.
Now, obviously, it's changed. How did it then progress to you taking over? Because obviously, it's the market is, I don't know, lots of other people in the business community don't know either. So how did that transpose?
I sort of fell into sort of surveying at that time, in the 80s. Leaving school, like many people, not really knowing where their future lay. So did an HND in building and surveying at that time, but was very keen that I didn't then go straight into the family firm. It didn't feel right to me. I wanted to get experience elsewhere and prove myself elsewhere, really. So hence, joining Bruton Knowles and getting, my professional qualifications, firmly under my belt there, and some really, really good experience. So then we get to sort of 1990, and I get sort of invited into the practice, just as a employee at that time. still having to cut my teeth. My father decided to retire the same week I joined, funnily enough. I didn't take it personally, but so yes, in 1990 he retired. We worked together for 1 week, and that was it. Completely clean break for him. So even though there was a sort of succession, I suppose, in his mind, there wasn't much of a handover.
So Eric Evans then? No, so I'm getting my people mixed up. Yeah. So
my father's Priest Jones.
Yes. Sorry, he's Priest Jones. Yes. So Eric Evans then. So
Yeah.
Was he left behind then?
Well, sounds terrible. He was left behind. He stayed with the practice for another 12 years or so. I forget the exact dates now, but he very much stayed with the practice, being slightly younger, and then he retired, and there have been sort of various sort of permutations of the practice ever since, really, through traditional partnership as it started and was then, to then a limited liability partnership, and now a full limited company. It's interesting how things in terms of company governance have changed over that period.
What do you think is the biggest lesson you learned along that road? You as a person, you as a manager, because managing people is sometimes everybody I talk to, every business I talk to, find that's the hardest thing, really.
It is absolutely the hard, and I think coming from a professional background, and this will be similar for solicitors, accountants, surveyors, planners. We're all taught through our degrees and everything else how to do the job, but we're not really taught how to manage people. Not taught at all how to manage people, actually. So I think that has been the sort of biggest learning experience I've had is dealing with people and staff, and seeking to get the best out of people when we're not really given any training or armory to do that. It's very unusual, really, because you do often rise to the top of a business because of your professional work, rather than because of your people management skills. Certainly something I was very aware of, and spent a lot of time with good mentors and training to hopefully give me the tools to effectively manage people now. But perhaps you should ask my staff that whether I've got there yet.
What's the biggest mistake you've made in business?
Biggest mistake. You didn't warn me of that one, Mark.
I don't warn anybody about anything, really, apart from the top 3 business tips.
I think not being brave enough, I think, actually. I think in business you need to go with your gut feel sometimes, and I think there have been a few occasions where braver decisions would have allowed the business to grow more quickly. I think it's always that difficult balance between the level of work you have and the resource you have, and it's something that I've very much learned later in life, perhaps, that we need to take risks, and I should have been braver and probably taken more risks younger.
Does that make you regretful that the company could have been bigger, could have been further along the tracks?
I don't.
I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself, but
Yeah, I'm not a person who really ponders on regrets. It's not the way I'm wired, really. It could have been different. I could have taken more risks, and it could have gone horribly wrong. Of course, you never know. But yeah, I'm very much happy to look at what I've got now, and be very, very happy and pleased with that. So no, I don't dwell on it. But I suppose I've always felt I've come to things a little bit late, for whatever reason. So if I live a long time, then it'll be fine.
So what's we've talked about your biggest mistake. So what's your biggest success? What would you classify as that you've done at Evans Jones that you could be really proud
Well, when I joined the practice, so in 1990, it was quite old-fashioned. It, was typewriters and a lot of paper, and it felt, coming from Bruton Knowles, who actually at the time were quite, and probably still are, they sort of embraced technology quite early on. Which enabled me to get a love for technology and realize the power that it could bring to a business. So certainly when I came in, it did feel like, stepping back in time. So I was really proud of being able to sort of turn around the business from a technological point of view, very early adopters of computerization and word processing and spreadsheets and various other computer programs. So it was a struggle, because I had some dinosaurs who knew nothing of computers. Why should they? They'd never been brought up with them, didn't grasp them in the 80s. So trying to persuade people who were fairly, set in their ways that, computerization was the way forward. That I feel really proud of being able to do that, and have continued that through. Really, we've always been, very willing to embrace technology and, hopefully use it effectively.
Now, the high street has changed dramatically over the last 50 years, isn't it? And from the time that you've been in business, what would you say is the biggest fundamental change?
Crikey. Well, where do I start, really? I mean, we talk about technology. So, technology has had a massive impact upon the high street with online sales, particularly. But I suppose from a property perspective, I spent my early career moving everything out of town, whether that be residential, out of town shopping, edge of town, sports facilities. The whole ethos was to get everything out of the town. And it's only in the last 5 to 10 years that we've realized that towns need people. Without people, towns don't survive. So those great policies of out of town shopping, from the 80s onwards, there was a place for it. Nobody wants to go into a town centre to buy heavy goods, but it did go too far, and too much was moved out of town, and that has certainly, in many towns and cities, had a pretty negative impact, really. I grew up in Gloucester in the 60s, when we had Bon Marché, subsequently Debenhams and Co-op and Big M&S.
C&A, remember that?
C&A, absolutely. It was pretty vibrant at the time. Fletcher's, a toy shop, if you remember that, amazing place. And it's seeing that decline has been difficult, and now we're trying to address that. And we go visiting towns and cities around Gloucestershire just to look at the impacts and how you do address that. And it is all about people, as we've rehearsed many times.
Do you think that out of sight shopping centres should pay parking charges? I look at B&Q and not say B&Q, but all along Eastern Avenue, some of those should be indoors, or even by the Peel Centre. If they were charging parking like in town charges, then maybe you could flip it round the other way. Possibly.
I mean, I think that boat has sailed, and we'll never get that back to port. It's probably more about making short stay car parking in town centres either free or very, very cost effective. You look at Whitney Town in Oxfordshire, still has free car parking, has always had free car parking, and it is a very, very vibrant town centre, because people are quite happy to drive into the town centre. That said, we shouldn't always be encouraging car as a mode of transport. It's about getting multiple modes of transport, but good with good public services, and that is a lot of what has been forgotten. And we've created an environment where everybody still relies on their cars, and I think will for the foreseeable future. it'll be interesting to see what impact, fuel crisis and fuel costs have on that, and whether that does result in change. I know I've been, had some involvement with the forum in Gloucester, and from a sort of design review perspective, and even though that's been designed, ostensibly around a new multi-story car park, the car park is being designed so it can easily be repurposed for offices or hotel or whatever in the future. So I think that's perhaps a realization that cars are important now, but they are unlikely to be going forward. But
brings us very nicely to the working from home, and obviously is what's happened to the pandemic. And I've been out and about delivering Punchline very, very recently, and lots of businesses are back, but lots of businesses are working the hybrid kind of model as well at the moment. Do you think that's going to have a massive effect on the high street too? Do you think we're going to go back to the office, or is this the new way of working, kind of Monday, Friday working from home, middle of the week working in the office? Or do you think we're going to go back?
I don't think we're going to go back, if at all we go back. The signs I'm seeing now, and obviously things have started to settle down. I know we have spoken about this before, but certainly, the signs I'm seeing now are that, recruiters from the big cities are offering, as a contractual term, flexible working, of sometimes just going to the office 2 or 3 times a month. My daughter's just been offered a job with the NHS, completely working at home, not frontline, in an operating theatre, thankfully, because that wouldn't work so well, but as a researcher. So, once you have that set, and once that's, a contractual obligation for an employer, it will be very difficult, I think, for people and employers to wind back from that, even if perhaps they wished on some occasions. So yeah, I think on balance of probability, it is definitely here to stay.
Now, you guys are also experts in sort of hotelier sort of side of the business,
yes,
as well. Have you seen a shift now that people are going back and holidaying a bit more? Is the holiday market opened up, so the hotels are being rebuilt or being built again?
It's too early to tell. Early signs are good. So we project manage for one of the sort of national budget operators, and they stalled on a number of sites during the pandemic, and I think we will now see sites come back on stream probably in the next 12 months or so. So we would generally be project managing 6 or 7 new hotels a year for this particular operator. That dropped to probably some legacy projects of 1 or 2 during the pandemic, and we know they are now looking at new sites. So certainly the confidence is there. People have returned to holiday, and I think there's a massive demand for people to get back on holiday again. So I'm very confident that market will return very, very positively.
I'm going to go back to your personal level. That's okay. I can't remember whether I asked you where you went to school. You're from Gloucester. Was it a local school here?
It was Longleven Secondary School. So I was part of the 1960 secondary modern experiment. And education is always an experiment, but it's now a housing estate, which is a bit ironic.
So you went there. Did you go to university afterwards?
So I went to Gloucester College of Arts and Technology initially to do an OND and HND, and then on to Reading University to do my professional qualifications, and then became a surveyor, and then retrained as a town planner. So lots of training.
Was that the old Glosscap building then?
I was at
they finally knocked down.
I was at the Lippiates in Lansdowne Road in Cheltenham.
Oh, right, okay.
So, the old Glosscap building is also a housing estate. So there's something about wherever I go eventually becomes a housing estate by the look of it.
I'm slightly worried about the building that you're in at the moment, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're based there in Cheltenham, in the very nice offices there. And
Yes.
how long have you been actually in those premises?
So we've been here since 2000 and 2005, 2006. So yeah, good long period now.
Okay, you obviously enjoy it. Obviously enjoy what you do as well. On a personal note, what kind of books do you like to read? So what are you reading at the moment, David? What's next to your bedside?
Next to my bedside, I love
apart from a fluffy doily, maybe, you know.
I love crime thrillers. So I always get the pronunciation wrong. I think it's Ho Nesbo, but it's spelled J-O, isn't it? And it's not Joe Nesbo. I think it's Ho Nesbo, who is a Swedish crime writer. But because I read on a Kindle, I can never remember the name of the book. It's terrible, isn't it? Because you never see the front cover of a book on a Kindle. Yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the book.
I'm not a big fan of Kindles, mainly because you can't share it with anybody. You can't fold a corner of the page over. You can't flip it over on its back, like break the spine like I like.
You can't. No. It's
not the same. It's not the same, really, and you can't even colour in the pictures.
No, Headhunters. What's called.
What's the last bit of music you bought? So CD or something on iTunes?
Oh, last bit of music I bought. Thing is, you don't anymore, do you? It's all on Spotify. You just dip into Spotify. The last one I bought, I don't know. I can't remember. That's terrible, isn't it? And again, I think that's this electronic world we live in, where everything is just delivered to your phone. Yeah, I don't know.
We're similar ages. The last one I bought was actually Duran Duran's latest album. Yeah, it's true. It didn't last long on the CD. I'm still in its third play, trying to get used to it. So I can imagine you being a bit of a Duran Duran fan when you were younger. No?
Oh yeah. Hair, makeup, the lot.
Okay. What I've got to ask you, as I always ask all my guests on the business, the big interviews, is what's your top 3 business tips, sir?
Oh, top 3 business tips. I think. Don't feel an imposter. I speak to lots of business people and have done in sort of mentoring and sort of group sessions, and without exception, almost all feel an imposter syndrome at some point, and it is such a negative feeling. I felt it on occasions. What am I doing here? I shouldn't be running this business. So I would implore anybody to look at the positives and grasp and accept what they've achieved and why. I think a willingness to change. This business is pretty fluid and of the size we are, we can change quickly. So I think an ability and willingness to change, and probably don't be flattered by turnover. It's all about profit.
That's a great place to finish today. David Jones from Evans Jones, thanks for ever so much for being my guest on the big interview, and hopefully I'll get to see you very soon. Cheers. Thank you.
My pleasure, Mark. Thank you.
If you do like the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.